it's already a time for another look at the month ahead. The months do seem to be flying by. And now we are building up to a really interesting time that astrologers have been anticipating for many months, really since last year and the election of Donald Trump. And that, of course, is the eclipse that will occur on the 21st of August. Now, about that eclipse, which astrology generally has a lot to think about, well, that we're only going to talk in next month's Month Ahead show, because that will occur just a few days after that Month Ahead show. So there'll be plenty to talk about at that time. But in the meanwhile, in the world astrology, it looks like things are building up for a period of months that will start from August, that will really see a lot of political tension and even a lot of strife in the world. It's possible that there might be more violence or terrorist attacks or some very dramatic episode connected with one of the many wars that are happening around the planet. It's probably not something altogether new and so big that it's as big as one of the major terrorist or war events that we've seen over the last couple of years. It seems more to be like a build up and then a release of tension that's been going on. And in fact, in all our lives, we might experience more tension and a little bit more drama and a high possibility of more conflict. But our real concern is on the world stage with respect to all of that. And we will see more and more disagreement, Europe, America, and of course, here in our own country, in the build-up to the ANC elective conference at the end of the year. It does look like the next month is a really critical time. And here in South Africa, we're going to see more and more of the knives start coming out as more people have revealed their candidacy for the presidency of the ANC. Jacob Zuma himself has been relatively quiet, still stirring the pot, but making it clear that he's being deliberately quiet. Even so, during the month of August, he might yet do something which once again destabilizes the economy and is a little bit shocking to all. There are configurations in his chart in August and in September which suggest that there's something building up and there could be a reaction or an act by him that is building up. Although he has said that he's basically nursing his grievances until after the elective conference, we still expect, now looking at the charts for August and September, one kind of last dramatic act from him before he moves on from presidency of the ANC. Of course, he will still be president of the country for at least a little while after that conference, but it looks like his next and hopefully his last great big shake-up act is due August or September. So if it doesn't happen soon, I'll be back to talk about it next month when we'll all be expecting the eclipse and we'll have seen a little bit more of the edginess that the world is now facing over the next month. And remember, it isn't really anything new. It's been building and then relaxing a little bit and building and relaxing a little bit over the last couple of months. The planet Mars has been getting into a stronger and stronger position. And if you know your stories, mythology stories, you know that he can be a bit of a troublemaker. And that's what we're watching out for. While it does speak of the ongoing conflict within the governing party and the various candidates, the way they're also lashing out at other parties, those are the things that we would expect, although it does look like the fight within the party is getting more heated, as I said earlier on. But what is important to know is that all the tension and potential aggression that is building up very clearly in this country over the next couple of months is going to actually lead to some changes. It does look like at some point in the next month or maybe a little bit more, we actually are able to make some changes as a result of all the information that is coming out because of the Gupta leaks. And the Gupta leaks continue to show as becoming much more significant around about the October period. So we'll talk more about that at the time as well. But just in case you thought there were no consequences for all of that, it does seem as if behind the scenes there are, and there will be some eruption and changes and uncovering of more secrets, if there's such a possibility left in this country, that does lead to some big changes finally happening around about the month of October. At the beginning of the year, I did predict some difficulties for Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma in her path to the presidency, as at that time I was saying that Cyril Ramaphosa will start leading the pack in the second half of the year. Well, the pack was quite small when I said that. Now we have another few contenders, and the charts continue to show difficulty for female contenders for the presidency of the ANC at this time. So Mbete and Sisulu, who've entered the race, fall under some of the same influences as Dlamini Zuma, although her problems are much greater, because the chart shows it's the baggage that she carries, and that's of course her marriage to the current president, that is going to be eventually what can bring her down. But we'll see what Mr. Zuma has up his sleeve for some of the shake-ups we expect from him in the coming months. So stay tuned. It's not getting any less exciting in the race for the presidency, and it remains strong for Cyril Ramaphosa at this stage. But we will be much more interested in what our own personal fortunes have to say, because you matter much more than all that politics. The cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra and Capricorn, can expect a lot of changes happening this month. A lot of them are kind of the odds are in your favor. You can take chances and make big changes. But even where it doesn't seem as if anything's offering you the chance, this is the time to do it, like it or not. Make the changes now, and it's really going to pay off in the longer run, even if it seems it's something that you don't really want to make. Exciting new challenges are actually on the way. For Aries, a lot of the changes that you're challenged to make are in the domestic environment. And in fact, because I mentioned Mars earlier on, you might have recognized that that is your ruling planet. And because Mars is strong this month, you are probably going to be facing a little bit of tension and conflict in that domestic environment itself. In fact, of course, your relationship is the most likely place for that to happen, and you need to be especially careful not to act selfishly, or not so much selfishly, just naively and enthusiastically, but still not really taking your partner into account. It does seem as if some of the tension around the house is precisely because your partner is feeling neglected, or that you are being selfish. That's something that you can easily bring back into balance. Any other changes that need to happen around the house, even if they're something like renovation or moving the furniture, this is the best time to do it. Remember, as a cardinal sign, the changes that you make now are probably going to have much bigger lasting effects. So anything that's on the wish list or the bucket list in terms of what you want to do around the house or the home, this is your time to do it. For Cancerians, well, a lot of the change is also happening in your domestic environment, but this is mostly around your relationships. These are your personal relationships at home, as well as other relationships, even relationships with children. Things that have been difficult for some time might fall back into place more clearly, as you'll get opportunities to show your feelings or to take charge of a situation where once again you show your value in a relationship. This is not just personal relationships, even professional relationships fall into that. In fact, Cancerians at work, this is a great time to step up to the plate and show your value and kind of show how indispensable you are. There's something that's your responsibility in life or work at this time that you're taking care of that's really going to produce great results. And anything that requires the help or the input of another person is also going to be really good for you, because this is the time when you can claim your space in all your relationships. So Cancerians, stand strong and do what you do best. Look after the things that are about people and the things that really matter. The rest falls into place itself. Librans have a strong focus on their professional life this month, but there isn't necessarily much happening in terms of your own goals. A lot of that focus can be work that must be done, or the running around and extra that seems as if it's not pursuing your own goals, and you're spending an awful lot of your time worrying about everyone else's goals, or just about all the admin and things like that that need to be done. The one thing you really need to be careful of, Librans, at this particular time is keeping all the people happy all the time. While to some extent that's going to be necessary because of the so many chores that are in your chart at this time, you can yourself fall off the list if you're so busy worrying about everyone else's stuff all the time. So try and keep a focus on what you also are trying to achieve. Try and keep your own creativity in the process, but accept that this is a month where there's lots of effort and energy that's going to be spent with not too much result. So just make sure that you don't get into a situation where it feels wasteful or where you can end up exhausted or resentful because of it. For Capricorns, the changes are to you yourself personally. It's a little bit like all that stuff that you've been doing over the last few months has been pretty much behind the scenes. And it might seem as if you haven't even been doing that much. You know that you've been slogging on with the stuff that was already there. Well, now it's time to show the world increasingly what you've been doing. So perhaps it's time to put a plan into action, or more likely take leadership and make some changes in your environment that need to be made. If you are in management or any kind of leadership position, these could be significant changes that you need to make right now. And you really need to ask the question, who is contributing and who isn't? Because this is the time when all the efforts need to start showing their fruit. For those Capricorns who are self-employed, doing their own thing, as most Capricorns usually are, now's the time when the ball can finally start rolling. All the effort and energy you've put into something over the last few months is actually beginning to happen. But it's going to take courage, and it's going to take a lot of trusting yourself, because seeing the good results of all of this is going to take a little bit longer. So hang in there. The fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio and Aquarius, have experienced changes over the last month that have, on the one hand, made some new resources available, and on the other hand, created a whole lot of expenses. But the important thing is that this is a month where you can really put your resources to good use. Maybe that's starting some new projects or finally getting some underway, but there's lots to work with and you can really make things happen. Just make use of what's now available to you. For Taurus, a lot of the resources that you're going to have to concentrate on at this time are the things that you yourself are born with, are talented at, and can bring to the party yourself. Make use of what you have. It is true that there are some benefits coming to you via friends, things made available or help that is coming your way. But for the most part, you are going to have to rely on yourself. There are also signs of old business that needs to be cleared up, some unfinished business along the way, perhaps something that was swept under the carpet, or something that has just come to haunt from a very long time ago, and now is the time to really get that out of the way once and for all. So dealing with old things as well as benefiting from old friends is what your month is all about. You'll be able to make a lot of progress on your own projects as a result of that, as long as you keep in balance and don't allow yourself to get into a situation of neediness. If you believe that you don't have the resources that you need right now, you're not going to focus on what you actually do have. Make it happen, because it really can happen, but focus on your own resources. That's really what's important for you. For Leos are in a position where there aren't so many resources available to you right now. There might be some financial challenges going on, and there might be some different types of old things that need to be sorted out. For you, Leo, it's not a case of benefiting from old friends or wrapping up something from the past, but it's more like there's some unfinished business. There's something that has remained unsaid. There's a conflict that has been unresolved. There's something like that that needs to be sorted out. And now your birthday is coming up. A whole new kind of birth year cycle is ahead of you, and you need to clear those things out of the way before you can really go successfully into this project. Your relationships of all kinds will improve, and for Leos who are not in relationships, this is a great time for new relationships to start. But remember, you're going to be perceived as a little edgy and perhaps seemingly oversensitive, and that's being brought about by your own sense of a lack, or as if there's something you need, that little bit of fear around money that's haunting you at the moment. Don't let that get in the way. Rather, sort out the old stuff and you have a whole clear path ahead of you for your special new year. Scorpios have a little bit of everything that the other fixed signs are dealing with this month. So for Scorpios, there are lots of benefits coming from your friends, resources and things, but there's also one or two conflicts that need to be sorted out. And Scorpios are also enjoined to make use of what's naturally the thing that you're good at or the thing that you love to do the most, because that's really what it seems to be about for you this month, much more than about anything else. It also looks as if relationships can take a much better turn if you deal with something, but it can seem to the other person as if you're coming on too strong. In existing relationships, that can make you seem a little bit aggressive or overpowering or trying to take control. And for new relationships, that might be pushing someone away unintentionally. Remember, the forces of Mars, your ruler, are strong, and that can be a little bit overwhelming to someone else. Rein it in, rather use it to deal with relationships that need to be sorted out. And for your new relationships and for the ones you love, use it as a force of inspiration, because your chart is saying you can work with what's available to you from friends to really make things happen. For Aquarians, it could be quite a challenging month. It does look as if financial matters are really challenging at the moment. And on top of that, there can be greater expenses coming along that perhaps were not accounted for, or that could be larger than you think. It does seem as if there's either unfinished business or something forgotten about that has allowed that to happen. You might not automatically be getting the help from friends, but they really are there for you if you want it. And you're really great at knowing how to maintain good social connections and having people appreciate what you're after. So Aquarians, pull in the favors this month. Bring it to you. Don't be shy to ask. Don't be shy to rely on others. Don't be some martyr for the greater cause, because you might end up in a much more difficult situation. Rather, ask for help. Take that second place, if you like, and you'll find that everything else works much better. Don't allow your own pride to get in the way. The good news is that once and for all, you are getting rid of a burden you've carried for a long time. So by sharing, by gaining from the people around you, you can wrap up and discharge one of your old pieces of baggage. Nothing feels as good as that. Mutable signs are basically in receive and react mode this month. That can mean that while it is difficult to get own projects and own goals on the go, and it seems as if your energies are all wrapped up in other people, there can also be some rewards and benefits from that. New things coming from different places, new information and new resources of whatever kind may be. So sit back, relax, receive and respond. Geminis, you who spend so much of your energy trying to keep everyone else happy, this is actually the time to draw in some help for yourself. The chart says that there's something that you're doing that you can't actually do entirely on your own, even if you're trying, and it is time to get some help. And in fact, it will be a great advantage for you to get some help, because that can help you concentrate on what really matters. That help can also be financial help. This is a great time for raising money or expecting an increase of income, but just be careful in terms of getting help and getting money that those things aren't too tied up so that you become beholden or obliged in a way that wasn't part of the plan. Remember, the main plan is that you need to get some goals completed at this time. You need help, and that's really what needs to be discharged by the end of the month. You don't want to get yourself into a situation where you end up owing in any kind of a way. Most of what you want to do, try and get done within about the next 2 weeks, and it will be easiest to bring things to completion. Things left longer than that are going to start dragging into new complications. So get help, get it done, becomes much easier for you. Virgos also can look forward to some increases in the financial situation, but equally might find that they need help with what they do. Nevertheless, for Virgos, that help isn't in the form of helpers doing things for you because it's too much for you to bear. There literally is some information that you need, or some access to information that you need, that is going to come from other people. Don't try and do it all yourself, and you might find that some of that information arrives spontaneously as well. You need to watch out for the last period of this next month, when things might go a little out of hand in terms of your own financial obligations, and you need to really start reining it in as early as possible this month, so you don't end the month in a more complicated situation than you are right now. So remember, it's input, information and knowledge that you need at this time to get things done properly. Don't create extra financial burdens for yourself by obliging yourself to anything else. For Sagittarians, things this month are a little bit about the buck stops here. It's time to actually draw a halt on some things that have been working against you, or that have been undermining your progress in some way. Time to put your foot down and take charge, or take authority. It might involve dealing with someone who you've known for a very long time, comes from the past, and is someone that you would be reluctant to confront in that kind of way. But this is the time to wrap up old baggage. What are you receiving is that there are other people from the past that are also surfacing at this time. Old friends, old connections that you can really trust and rely on also seem to be around. So make some space to have some fun with old friends, and it becomes a lot easier to deal with those that are causing a few complications for you at the moment. So asserting yourself and remembering who you were, and remembering what those old friends saw in you and liked about you, get back to that place by getting rid of those who drain your energies and your resources at this time. For Pisceans, this is a passive month where you don't feel like doing anything, and that can be quite suitable for a respond and receive kind of month. But what you don't want to do is lose any of the advantage that your ruling planet Jupiter is offering at this time. Pisceans are usually fascinated or rely on things that are different, exotic in some kind of way, and from far off places, and this is the opportunity for that this month. Actually, many Pisceans will even get the opportunity to travel themselves, and everything to do with what's exotic, what's foreign, who's foreign, and how they come into your life is what's going to benefit you at this time. You need to be concentrating on your relationships with the people around you, and your receptive mode will allow you to be sympathetic and aware of what's going on around you, so that you don't become involved. So Pisces, your lesson this month is about receptiveness, information that can benefit you. Keep peace and harmony around you, but don't get involved. That passive mode that you're so into, that's where it's really going to work for you. Then you'll have a great month. So all those politicians might be having a bit of a bumpy ride, but it does seem that for the rest of us, or at least for most of the rest of us, things aren't quite as bad as everything else seems to be getting. So hang in there, and as I said earlier on, keep focused on yourself. Don't get caught up and personalize the political and global situation too much. In the age of the internet and Facebook and on-tap news all the time, it seems as if so much more is happening. Maybe it is, but I suspect a lot of the reason is that we are exposed to so much more on a continuous basis. It's a constant feeding of the drama and challenges that happen around the world. And of course we have the Facebook phenomenon, which is now a well-known phenomenon, that Facebook tends to induce a greater sense of depression in people who compare themselves. There's a lot of fake news that stirs people up. All of that stuff. I mean, we could have an endless conversation about that. But what I think astrology shows us is that concentrate on yourself, concentrate on maximizing your potentials, your opportunities, on accepting and dealing with the challenges you personally face. And that attitude will make everything feel much more manageable. And quite frankly, it's much more important, your management of your own life and the effect in your own life, despite the fact that you are affected by the global political situation, you can have a much more positive experience. So we will be back, as I said earlier on, for another look at the month ahead in a month's time, just before the famous upcoming eclipse. We've also got some really interesting shows in the next couple of weeks, 2 interviews, one of which will really surprise you. So make sure you stay tuned. And of course, make sure you stay tuned to the Facebook page, Rod Suskin's World, where you can get advanced news of what's coming up, catch up on all your old shows, interact with me, and anything else that you might like to know about the show. It's all there. So join me, and I'll see you here, same time, same place, next week.